One thing I definitely inherited from my father is the fact that he loved people. And I love people, although, I do enjoy my times going to my man cave and just being alone and not talking to people, but I do like to go out there. I do love people. For example, I was sharing with some young musicians that how sometimes like this, I might be playing a gig and someone might come up to me and say, "Hey Jeremy, sorry I have to leave halfway through. I can't catch your second set because I need to go back and I have to wake up early and take my daughter to her dance recital tomorrow," And then 2 weeks later, when this guy walks in the club, I'll say, "Hey, how are you doing? And hey, how was your daughter's dance recital?" And I don't do it in a contrived kind of way. I mean, I remembered, right? He told me about it. So, and then when you do that kind of thing, you tend to endear yourself to people, and then when you say that, "Hey, I'm doing this charity show and blah, 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 and I'm looking for donors," if the guy has the means to do it, they just like you already. So I think it's important for musicians to, you don't have to kind of work too hard to get people to like you, but if you have the ability to not only get people to like your music, but to like you as a person, then when you do your work as a leader, as an organizer of a scene, or whatever efforts that you're putting in for the community, you find that these people will come and stand by you and support you in whatever way they want to. Our biggest donor, I think we became friends, and so every year, he donates $100,000 to the Jazz Association. I don't know, he's a jazz fan, but I don't know if he's that big a jazz fan to want to donate $100,000 a year. I think it's partly because he just wants to support me. And this is a funny story. It might be a little bit self-praising, but I remember one time that the AFG Bank chairman was sitting next to President Tony Tan watching the show, and Tony Tan had attended 7 of my jazzy Christmas concerts, 3 as the sitting president. And so my friend Albert asked him, "Wow, you've been to nearly about 7 of Jeremy's concerts already. You must really like jazz." And then without missing a beat, he says, "Not really. I just like Jeremy." I think it's great to have that kind of support and people who are fond of you. I've been doing interviews with you since the early 80s, right? So since the 80s, so I used to sometimes belabor and say I don't get enough support in Singapore. There's no support from, from the local scene, and I guess a lot of us Singaporean musicians say that. And there's not enough support from government and all that. And it's amazing how things are not like that anymore. There's a lot of support all around from the people, from the public, from the audience, of course from the government. So I think we are living in different times now. A lot of the young ones, they don't realize it, right? They don't know that when the scene first started, there's just zero help, right? And so in fact, it used to be almost anti-musician. And remember at one point, live music was banned. And in the late 60s to 1973, 74, live music was banned, right? I always feel that sports feeds the morale of a nation, and the arts feeds the soul of a nation. And so basically, for a nation to have soul, it's indigenous art, it's imported arts, it's music, it's all different disciplines. It's really what both the beholder as well as the creators is what really provides a level of lubricant that takes away the grit of just normal life. It's a venue of hope. It's a bastion of tranquility and solace. So I think very, very important, I think, for us to continue to support and promote the arts. I also believe that people should indulge in the arts. Nowadays, more people like to also, even though they're not professional, people love to go to karaoke lounges. And I tell you, that's one of the most enriching things for non-artists people to do, because they sing with their friends. It's very social, and they get to sing along, and they just release a lot of tension. So that's just one aspect of it. But you also have people taking up pottery classes when they're not really potters. I think maybe it could be a nice layer of fat, art and music, that will prevent the world from becoming too lean in terms of communication lines and collaboration. Culture is always a reflection of what's going on in real life, right? So I think that we'll start to see more that kind of collaboration happening. A large number of artists and musicians are a little more liberal-minded thinking, and you've seen at the concerts I introduce you to people who build helicopters but decide they want to play. So they're actually quite smart people, and so they're articulating now almost like another arm of discourse and opinion about what's going on in the world. So these musicians are becoming another voice, not only with their music and their concerts or what they say at concerts, but also with what they say on social media and so on and so forth. I think they don't want to see a reduction in collaboration and around the world. So I think musicians will still collaborate.